Rectal cancer and colon cancer, a formidable one-two punch. Our guest on this episode of the Cancer Interviews podcast was diagnosed with both but survived. I'm your host, Bruce Morton, and I want you to hear about what Raphaela Ilgenfritz of London, United Kingdom, has done and is doing to help others diagnosed with below-the-belt cancers. Now, here's her story, and Raphaela, welcome to Cancer Interviews.
Hello, Bruce. I am so delighted to be invited and to be able to share my story on your show. I'm also an active listener of the show, and absolutely wonderful what you do.
Thank you so much, and we really look forward to hearing your story. Raphaela, we want to start out the way we always do, and that's to learn a little bit more about you, your life away from cancer. So if you would, tell us a bit about where you're from, what you do for work, and I hope time allows for fun, and when that happens, what you do for fun.
Okay, I'm a mother of two, very happily married for over 30 years, and I live in London in the UK. I've traveled the world. I was a flight attendant for almost 29 years, but took early retirement during the COVID pandemic, and I'm now working as a graphic designer. That was my original job in any case. During my flying time and my flying career, I was able to actually fly part-time and freelance as a graphic designer. So when COVID hit, I decided, that's me done, 55. I'm always 55, and I'll pursue my original career, which was a very good choice.
All those destinations, does one stick out as your most favorite and least favorite?
I would say Singapore is my favorite destination. It's just a mixture of so many good things. The food, the people, the climate, it's just all fantastic. It just all ticks all the boxes for me. And I can't say there is a destination that I didn't enjoy. I mean, it often has to do with your crew, with the passengers, with the weather. There are so many things to actually take into consideration, but I did enjoy flying far east because I could always sleep better flying that way. So going to the States, West Coast especially, I found very tiring because I could never sleep. I suffered from insomnia and jet lag. So, but I just enjoyed all of it. I mean, I was very fortunate and blessed to do it.
Now let's get to your cancer journey. For all of us who are cancer survivors, there comes that juncture in which you thought you were feeling well physically, and then you noticed that something was very, very wrong. How did that present itself in your case, Raphaela?
Yeah. In my case, it was actually not the typical signs. I was going through post-menopause, as I already explained, and I was going through a very stressful time like everybody during the pandemic, and I attributed the underlying symptoms as being menopausal, and so I didn't really pursue them. I didn't participate in any self-care whatsoever. So I was basically tired most of the time, which is a sure sign that there's something wrong, but I thought it was menopausal. So when I noticed, okay, my bowel habits and bowel movements were all of a sudden changing, I thought that was really strange because I had changed my diet 10 years prior to myself being diagnosed. I changed my diet a long time before that because my husband had been diagnosed in 2012. So that was a time where I thought, maybe I must look out for something because it's not correct. The bowel movements were not the way they presented themselves. There was just something wrong. So I was still flying at that time actively, but I'd already in my mind taken early retirement and actually put in early retirement at 55. So as I was still flying for the company, they give you a medical checkup every year. And I did one of those medical checkups, and they give you one of those home testing kits for the stool sample, and that came back negative. So they said I have to take it up with my GP, which I then did. And my GP, I don't know, they said, okay, they'll do their own investigation. And then they actually said, okay, you've got hemorrhoids. And I thought, no, I don't have hemorrhoids. I just, I had never had hemorrhoids ever since my diet changed. And I knew there was something different. So I said, okay, I would like them to do the home testing kit. I would like them to do the stool sample. And that also, again, came back negative. And then the doctor said, yes, but you've got hemorrhoids. So what do you want me to do? Why don't you take the creams that we prescribed? And I said, no, I think there's something else that's the matter with me. I would like you to do a colonoscopy now. Now, a colonoscopy is definitely not your first choice of any form of examination. So it's done in a very humane and dignified way. And the day of my colonoscopy, I was not sedated 100%. I could feel everything and I could see everything on a monitor. And the person that performed the colonoscopy was extremely, well, they were extremely nice. And, I mean, you're not in a nice position, And he then, I mean, you could see everything. And he then went to a place where I could see there was something completely wrong. It just did not look right. And I said to him, okay, what's that? And he said, oh, that's a polyp. And I said, well, just remove it. And he said, no, that's far too big. We will do a biopsy and that will have to be removed separately. He said it's too big. So, I was still totally oblivious. I thought, okay, I've got a polyp, let's remove it, but there were still serious signs. I got a letter, I got a referral to have an MRI and a CT scan. Now here in the UK, once you're on their radar and once something serious is picked up, it really goes very fast. The NHS is actually quite marvelous in that sense. So a week after my colonoscopy, I got the letters, the referral letters and my scheduled appointments, and I went in for the CT scan and the MRI. And then I think 2 or 3 days later, I got another letter saying I have got to come for a second CT scan with contrasting liquids. Now, at that stage, I was still totally oblivious. I thought, I don't know. They have to just, maybe the first one was messed up. I don't know why they want a second one. And then a week after that, I had a appointment that was given to me to see a consultant at the hospital. So this was during COVID time, and I was fortunate enough to being able to take my husband along. And when I got into the consulting room, all I could see was 2 people sitting there fully masked up. And the one was a cancer nurse, which I didn't know at the time. And the other one was my future surgeon. And as I said, he was totally masked up. All I could see were these kind eyes. And he said to me, so Raphaela, do you know why you're actually here? And I said, yes, there's a polyp that needs to removed. That you need to remove. And he said, no, I'm really sorry to tell you, but you've got bowel cancer, stage 3. So it was like time stands still when you get a diagnosis like that. It's quite surreal. And everything is quiet before everything becomes extremely noisy in your head. But only a couple of seconds after that, he said it hasn't spread to any of your organs. And I thought, wow, that's actually good news. And then my flight attendant emergency training brain kicked in, because as a flight attendant, if you're presented with an emergency situation, you would first analyze it, get all the information, and then try and get out of there alive as quickly as possible. And that's basically what I did. I said to him, okay, now we've got the situation here. What do we do? And he explained it to me. He said, well, the way the cancer is positioned, it's fairly unlikely that you will not come out of it without a stoma. Now, I had never heard of the word stoma in my life before. Never, ever. So he saw the question mark on my face and he took out a pen and a paper and he drew it for me. And I quickly obviously knew what it was. It was a colostomy. So I said, okay, what is the other choice? He says, the other choice would be that you would live near a toilet for the rest of your life. Now, at 55, you've still got so much living to do. I was not prepared to do that. And he didn't really give me a choice, but he prepared me for it. So I went home. I mean, the most important thing for me was how am I going to tell my kids and how am I going to tell my parents that were in their 80s that I hadn't seen all through COVID? How am I going to tell them that their daughter has bowel cancer? So Yeah. I said to them, I've got good news and I've got extremely good news. And my mom said when I phoned, oh, I'm so pleased. I was so worried about you. And she says, okay, what's the good news? I said, they found something. And it was silent on the other line. And then she says, and the very good news? I said, it hasn't spread to any of the organs and they can remove it. And to me, that's how I saw this whole episode. They could remove it. And they did have to survey my case to see if I needed radiation or chemotherapy prior to the operation. And they phoned me a day later and they said they've reviewed my case and it's not necessary. It's in a very favorable position where they can remove it. And when can I come in for surgery? I said, well, as soon as possible. I didn't want to wait around. This was December 21. So Christmas was on the horizon. Everybody was busy getting ready to actually work less. And I got the last surgery date for that year from this specific surgeon. That was 6 days after I was diagnosed.
By the way, we're confident you'll be able to learn some tips and tools to help you through your personal cancer journey. But first, we'd like to invite you to give us a like, leave a comment, or a review below, and share this story with your friends. Kindly click on the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon. That way you'll be notified the next time we post an interview. And if you or a loved one are facing a cancer diagnosis, please click on the link in the description and show notes below to get our free guide, The Top 10 Things I Wish I Knew When I First Got Cancer. And Raphaela, we are at a stage in which you first got cancer, and I suppose it was another layer of good news that you didn't have to go through radiation and chemo, but eventually all roads here, I would think, lead to the colostomy bag and colostomy bag management. I did not spend a great deal of time in healthcare, but I did work at a nursing home where there was the possibility that I might have to deal with a resident who had a colostomy bag, which would mean that I would have to perform bag maintenance, if you will, and I was terrified. I thought this looks so difficult, and I don't even want to think about the consequences if I mess it up. So in a very, very indirect kind of way, I have a wee bit of knowledge as to what you were going to be faced with when it came to dealing with the colostomy bag. And with ostomies we have interviewed for this program, I think if you talk to 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers. Some will talk about the nurse who was very attentive, making sure that the bag was on right the first time, but then making sure again and again that the patient knew exactly what to do, and that this would be certainly not as pleasant, but as easy as possible. We've also heard from the other extreme, in which there were ostomies who were given no direction whatsoever. And it is for those people that I'm really terrified, because I was almost in their position, again, in a very indirect sort of way. Now, your experience being taught how to maintain the bag and then maintaining it, what was your experience like?
Well, obviously, it's it's life-changing when you wake up and you've got a bag, obviously. But I think a very big part is your positive attitude towards it. Now, I embraced the stoma before I even had it, because I knew without it, either I'll have a bag for the rest of my life or a tag on my foot, to pull it bluntly. So I embraced the stoma, and even my family, my children and my husband, they supported me in this. So when I woke up from surgery, obviously one of the first things they want for you to do is to actually look at your bag, your stoma, and to actually change the bag. And I was in no position. I was also not in the right frame of mind. But as you mentioned already, there are stoma nurses there that are they are just so empathic to you. They are so good. And the one I had, or the team I had, they were really excellent. I mean, I walked into the ward and the sun would just starts, shining, and you couldn't but help smile at them. So, yes, they only discharge you once you actually know how to take care of the bag and once you're confident with that. So that sort of gives you peace of mind. And it's like anything. I was in a ward with 4 other women, and we all had our ostomy bags for different reasons, or there were different ailments. And, you try and cheer yourself up. And we sort of came to the conclusion it's like having a newborn. When you're a first-time parent, you also do not know how to change nappies and do all this. And it's a big, big story, and it takes forever. And then come a few weeks, months later, I mean, you do it, it's second nature. You don't even have to think about it. And that's the same with having a bag or doing a bag change. It becomes second nature. And now it's just part of my life. It doesn't define me, but it's part of my life. And it's, sometimes I even forget I've got it. It's just when I have to do a change, so.
Raphaela, for anybody watching or listening who might be on the verge of having a bag become a major part of their lives, could you give us an example of a day and I don't know if I can use the word typical day, but a day in which your routine is altered a bit, perhaps because of the bag?
It's a very interesting question, because I actually asked my family if they, through me having an ostomy, if they've noticed any changes, because obviously to me, this is my life now. But I asked them, and they couldn't notice it. And to be honest, only when I have to actually do a bag change, like any other person going to have to go to the toilet, that's when I'm confronted with it. And that's when I do it. And other than that, it's not much of an issue. It depends on obviously what you eat. I mean, I try and not eat anything that could give you wind, because if I want to be very graphic here, the wind only goes into your bag. So you've got a huge balloon on front of your stomach, and obviously you don't want to do that, or you don't want to have that. So I try and watch what I eat. But other than that, I can't really say, unless my bag leaks, which hardly ever happens, because I found the bag that actually works best for me, and the way I use it just hardly ever leaks. But obviously when something like that happens, then it happens, but it's not life-threatening, and it's not the end of the world.
Now, I want to backtrack a bit to the surgery that preceded your being outfitted with the bag. Would you say that the surgery went as well as it possibly could have gone?
I think it did, definitely, because the first person I saw was my surgeon after the surgery, and again, all masked up. All I saw were those kind eyes, and he said, Raphaela, we got all the cancer. So to me, that was like my early Christmas present, so it went according to plan. I stayed in a little longer than anticipated, because I had a few problems, bladder related. But other than that, everything went according to plan, and I'm forever in debt and thankful for them.
Raphaela, we're going to touch upon very soon here what you do for others in terms of helping them with their cancer journeys. But I want to backtrack just a little bit and bring up the fact that in the course of doing these interviews, I've learned that each cancer is different. It has its own idiosyncrasies. And there are certain cancers, Raphaela, in which, as if the cancer isn't bad enough, early detection is almost impossible. Lung cancer, pancreatic cancer, a huge percentage of the time, I'm not going to attach a number to it because I don't know the number. I just know a large percentage of the time that cancer is not detected until it's stage 3 or stage 4. I noticed that you are stage 3. In your experience of learning more about other people's cancer journeys with below-the-belt cancers, would you say that rectal cancer is like some of these other cancers, pancreatic and lung, in which early detection is difficult?
Bowel cancer and this type of cancer, it's also called a silent killer, because you don't have any nerves in your bowel. So it is extremely difficult. And I would just advise anybody to really take care and listen and look out for the signs, because there are definitely signs. They may be subtle in the beginning, but your body gives you signs, and you must be open to actually, yes, investigate it further and just monitor them. So yes, those cancers are really, sometimes they are detected too late. And if you leave it too late, obviously, and as I said, a colonoscopy, that nobody wants to do that, but that is the only way to actually detect it and see what's going on. So I'd advise, as soon as you've got doubt in your mind and you think there is something, worry is such a big factor in actually contributing to making you ill. So I would advise anybody to actually pursue it and just have it done, just to have peace of mind.
And I'm almost going to be asking you to repeat what you already said, but we've had other guests with colon cancer who have said that while the home tests, perhaps there is a place for them, they're not the gold standard. The colonoscopy is the gold standard, yes?
Yes. Yeah. Yes, it is. It is. But I think with a home testing kit, I don't know what it's like in the US, but in the UK, you do get it from the age of 60, and they've lowered that age to 54 because people are becoming younger and younger with this type of cancer. So, I mean, that is a first indication already. I mean, it actually says in the little kit that 90% of the time, even more, there is nothing to be worried about. But those 10 or 5%, there is something. And then if you do have early detection, like also in my case, I think it was early days still, yes, you can still survive this.
Now, let's talk about what you're doing in the present and future for others with below the belt cancers. Its logo's right behind you, and it's called Stoma for Life. If you would tell us about its genesis, how it came to be, and what it does, what it can do for others.
Yeah. Now, as I said, I'm a graphic designer, and I'm in the fortunate position to work for UK Health Radio. So when I was diagnosed with cancer, obviously I was working for a radio station, and it never actually crossed my mind to do my own show, but I spoke to so many other people that said, listen, you've got a story to tell and you've got this platform. Why don't you try and educate people about this? And it sort of snowballed from there. And UK Health Radio was very much interested in hosting a radio show, or for me to host a radio show for them. And that's how it happened. It only took a couple of weeks for me to actually make up my mind. I went to the drawing desk, I created my logo, I did my website and all my social media, and yes, I'm 8 shows in, and I'm absolutely enjoying it because I want to debunk myths. I want to tell people, okay, if you do get a cancer diagnosis, yes, it's absolutely serious, but life can go on, and a positive mindset is absolutely key and important. And, I firmly believe, I investigated why everybody asks themselves when they get a cancer diagnosis, why me? Or what could I have done differently? Or is there a reason for it? Now, when I spoke to my surgeon, he said, well, you've just had bad luck because you don't have anybody in the family. You don't have any of the normal signs or symptoms. It's not genetic. It's just bad luck. Now, I don't believe in bad luck. And previously I said we were going through COVID and I practiced no self-care. So I had extremely toxic thoughts, I could almost say, but I was going through a very worrying time of my life. And I think that contributed to me being diagnosed. So I just want people to, yes, embrace the fact that listen to your inner voice, listen to your intuition, and pursue. If you are worried, pursue it. Go to the GP, have it checked out, because once you've got peace of mind, you can carry on regardless of what the diagnosis is. You can go on.
That's outstanding advice and an outstanding story, Raphaela. We want to thank you very much for being with us. And if somebody wants to check out more about Stoma for Life, is there a web address for it?
Yes, that's a Stoma for Life. That's STOMA digit 4 LIFE.com. And there you have all my contact details, and you can also get in touch with me via the website. So I'm here to, like I said, debunk myths and educate people on bowel cancer and life as an ostomy, because I think that to me was, I had a huge question mark when I came out of surgery because I only had 6 days to prepare for it. And, I wanted to create a platform where people go and get answers even before or after surgery.
Excellent. Raphaela Ilgenfritz of London, United Kingdom, thanks so much for being with us. And we want to remind you that if you are on a cancer journey, you or a loved one, there are people out there like Raphaela. There are organizations like Stoma for Life that are there to help you. So until next time, we'll see you on down the road.